إلى الأستاذة شهيرة. ممكن نتكلم شوية على إيه هي الكي objectives لمشروع التام وإيه الريكومنديشنز اللي طلع بيها هذا المشروع on the regional level. كان في مؤتمر أوائل الشهر ده أو أواخر الشهر اللي فات Regional Conference for the TAM كان بحضور مصر والمغرب وتونس. فيا ريت نسمع من حضرتك شوية عن هذا الموضوع.
شكرا أستاذة شروق. في البداية أحب أشكر إديوتاك على الدعوة الكريمة، ويشرفني جدا الجلوس وسط زملاء وشركاء على هذه المنصة. في الحقيقة يعني دكتور صابر سبقني في أنه عرض على حضراتكم برنامج تام وأهدافه، بس يمكن في عجالة أن أنا حضرت مداخلة باللغة الإنجليزية وحضرتها كمان بباوربوينت برزنتيشن. أنا معرفش لو هي موجودة، دي بتاعت غبور ما أقدرش أتكلم عنها. Yes, thank you. Thank you. ميرسي رينا. بس في الحقيقة أنا حابة كمان أقول إن السنة اللي فاتت لما حضرنا الإديوتاك في المعرض تم من جانبنا عرض الكول فور ابليكيشن اللي عملناها للطلبة والخريجين التعليم الفني، ومن خلال الاكزيبيشن السنة اللي فاتت قدم بعض من الناس اللي كانوا موجودين هنا على فرصة الهجرة لألمانيا من خلال برنامج تام. فأنا برضو حابة أشكر إديوتاك على الفرصة اللي يعني قدرنا إن احنا نستغلها السنة اللي فاتت في هذا الصدد. I will switch to English, and very briefly I will simply give some pictures and some impressions of what Dr. Saber has already elaborated on. The TAM program is whoever came up with the name did a good job because they already described what it does. It's towards a holistic approach to labor migration governance and labor mobility in North Africa. It's funded by the EU and the German government and implemented as it implies regionally in Morocco, Tunisia, and Egypt, and in Egypt specifically by ILO, IOM, and GIZ with a number of partners. Shuru, you asked what is the objective of TAM. It's to foster and increase mutually beneficial legal migration and mobility. This is the general objective, and the emphasis here is on mutually beneficial. There is an assumption that it is not mutually beneficial when we talk about migration. So here there is a responsibility also on the side of the Egyptian government to make sure that it is mutually beneficial, and that can be reached if we approach labor migration and mobility from a development-oriented point of view. And what holistic stands for in this aspect, and what labor migration and mobility stands for, is a set of aspects and pillars that we look at. We, through the TAM program, we look at governance of labor, mobility, and migration, which is implemented with the Ministry of Manpower and Social Solidarity, ILO and IOM support here. Skills with the Ministry of Higher Education, data with CAPMAS. We pilot mobility schemes, GIZ together with the Ministry of Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates Affairs. And last but not least, we look into dialogue and exchange also South-South as it has been mentioned. And to be very precise, we have the privilege to have piloted already a mobility scheme and can look into operationally what are the steps that Dr. Saber has already mentioned. Together with the Ministry of Immigration and the Federal Employment Agency in Germany, we managed to pilot a mobility scheme in the last years. We have been active since 2020. And very briefly, to just give you some pictures to what has already been said, we start with sector and candidate selection. And it is very important to, also in the context of this conference, because here we are talking about a mobility scheme that is targeted to technical education graduates. We are not looking at academics, we're looking at blue collars, and we're looking at specifically skilled workers and apprentices. Germany has a labor market that can absorb yearly up to 400,000 skilled workers, and this is why we are focusing in the mobility scheme on certain sectors that are provided to us by the Federal Employment Agency in Germany. We have conducted 7 rounds of calls for applications for the mobility scheme for these 2 tracks, the skilled workers and the apprentices. And these are the sectors that we have worked on that are mutually of interest for both Germany but also Egypt. And it is listed in the priority. So hotel and gastronomy comes first, followed by electricity and electronics, etc. And as Dr. Saber has already mentioned, we also helped the ministry establish a online application management platform, which is modular and can be adapted not just for mobility to Germany, but to any other country that the government wishes to engage in. So very briefly, also to take you through the next steps, after the selection of the sectors and the candidates, we undergo the pre-departure orientation, where the candidates receive language and intercultural training. We do so in collaboration with the Goethe Institute, as well as our GIZ team in Germany. Then, during the pre-departure orientation phase, we do the job preparation, and in that stage, we look into supporting our candidates with CV writing, with interviewing skills, and also the very rigorous process of the recognition of qualifications. In that stage, it is kind of a preparatory phase for what comes next, and that is the preparation for travel. For that stage, we need to look into getting a contract in Germany together with the Federal Employment Agency. Our candidates have interviews with German companies, and we help and support the candidates get all of their visa and travel requirements. And as it was said, we don't stop there. We help integrate our candidates in Germany. There's a team specifically in Germany looking into their integration and supporting them. And this is also Muhammad here in the bottom. He has already reached Germany a few months ago. Ms. Shuru, you asked also about the regional conference and very quickly the recommendations that were given there. And this is my impression of the recommendations. Also, the lessons learned that we can draw from the mobility scheme that has been implemented between Egypt and Germany. The conference was labeled and entitled on lessons learned from the mobility scheme. One is to integrate the nexus of migration, education, and employment policy and practices. We are looking at, when we look at migration, we shouldn't look at migration as a alone standing concept, but we need to see how to integrate it with strategies and policies aiming at education development and employment. Number 2 is to involve the private sector in the design and the execution of the schemes and partnerships. This has been repeated many times today, the importance of the role of the private sector, but also in the context of mobility and labor mobility to other countries. The role of the private sector is not only in the selection and the skills development of certain sectors and professions, but also that the costs of travel are not borne on the candidates themselves. So this is a way to protect the candidates of from traveling, taking on all of the costs. No, we need to see that the private sector invests in these costs, which include very costly things like language training and job preparation. And last but not least is to invest in skills development and assessment models in a development-oriented way. And what this actually and practically means is to try out different partnership models to work on mobility in an integrated, as it has been said, and development-oriented way. I would like to take this opportunity at the very end to say that mobility is a means to an end. It is not really an end in and of itself, but we have to look at migration and mobility as an option, as a career pathway, as an opportunity to actually further and develop human development.
Thank you so much, Shahira. Thank you.